Just 2 months ago, I made a video about open world game design, and while that video was about a very specific aspect of game design, that being silence, I do think a lot of what I said in that video applies to Sonic Frontiers. I don't think it's exactly a secret to say that in the 5 years since Breath of the Wild, a lot of beloved series have decided to make the jump to open world, be it Halo, Soulsborne games, Pokemon even, and now Sonic, and all of them have been doing this to varying degrees of success. I think what's important is that these games aren't just Breath of the Wild, even if they take inspiration from it, and that they play up the aspects that make them what they are. And this is something that applies specifically to these long-running series like Pokemon, like Halo, like Sonic. There's a lot of things that make Halo, Halo. There's a lot of things that make Pokemon, Pokemon. Albeit maybe some of those things should change, but at the end of the day I can commend Halo Infinite for, really exaggerating the physics that are synonymous with the first three Halo games, and I can commend Pokemon Legends Arceus for streamlining the process of catching Pokemon. Even if there are aspects of these series that are worth looking back on and changing, it doesn't change the fact that there are certain aspects of these series that are uniquely Pokemon or uniquely Sonic, and we shouldn't lose sight of the elements that make these series what they are. Otherwise, they risk losing their identity. When Breath of the Wild came out, as great as it is, do you know how many Zelda fans were upset and saying that it didn't feel like a Zelda game, saying that it was missing certain motifs that made the series what it is? A decent amount of them. And there's no denying that Zelda Breath of the Wild is missing certain things like the super broad, super large dungeons with complex and nuanced puzzles, but it also plays up other aspects that are very Zelda, like the item management and the sword combat. Things like that make this very much a Zelda game. I was actually in the middle of writing this video before they did the big gameplay reveal a couple days ago for Sonic Frontiers, because even then I was worried about this game just on a conceptual level, and I'm going to explain why, but first I just want to say one thing. Somehow I've never really talked about Sonic on this channel, but I am a pretty big Sonic fan. It was only a couple months ago when I roped 4 of my friends, 2 of which had no attachment to the Sonic franchise, into seeing Sonic 2 on opening day. First movie to sell a trillion tickets and all that. But as much as I enjoyed that movie, I couldn't help the feeling that it really heightened the burden of Sonic Frontiers to be good, because we're now in an era where Sonic has these great movies and comics and a new show on the way with Devin Mack voicing Sonic, cool collections dropping. We basically have everything except a really good new game. And that sucks. And let me just get this out of the way. Based off of what we've seen, I don't think that Sonic Frontiers is going to be a bad game. I think that it's going to be another painfully mediocre Sonic game, and I'm really annoyed by the sensationalism because I've seen a lot of video titles and thumbnails where it's like, Sonic Frontiers looks horrible, Sonic Frontiers is going to be the worst game of 2022. None of that is true. It's just gonna be fine at this trajectory. What I am afraid of, though, is whether or not this game is going to be a good Sonic game, and I think there's a distinction to be made there. When I talk about playing up aspects that are unique to certain series, there are a few aspects that I can think of that are more conducive to good Sonic games than speed, and I'm really afraid about the way speed is going to be implemented in Sonic Frontiers. When I was drafting my original video, I was basically just rattling off a bunch of ideas for how Sonic could build and accumulate speed in Frontiers, and I really wanted there to be an emphasis on momentum and things you can do to sort of gain it and to keep it. Sort of like things like going down hills, simple things, jumping off of cliffs, doing tricks in the air to get a boost when you hit the ground. Tons of simple stuff, very simple stuff. And while some of that is there, it's also clear from a lot of the clips that momentum isn't playing as large of a part as just the player spamming the boost button. which is a very different thing. A huge part of the reason why the best Sonic games allow him to build speed in the way that he does is because of tight level design, and that tight level design sort of accommodates his speed and allows him to build it in unique ways. But it's worth pointing out that obviously open world games are the enemy of tight design, which is the same reason why the dungeons in Breath of the Wild suck so badly. So I was just assuming that naturally this game would have a very strong emphasis on Sonic's natural speed and unique ways for him to build his speed, be it through tricks or more specific, more finely tuned drifting, or anything really, just different movement tech that Sonic would get throughout the game. But they completely shocked me with the direction they took it in, instead just filling up an otherwise empty world with a bunch of grind rails and bounce pads and rings and yeah, I don't know, it doesn't seem natural to me. This game seems so empty in most ways. Literally the only sign of life besides Sonic that we've seen in both gameplay reveals is this bird, which instantly became a meme in the fan base because it doesn't flap its wings. And despite how empty everything is, despite how lifeless it looks, at least based off of these showcases, there seem to be these large structures deliberately put out with Sonic in mind, trying to accommodate his speed, which is again harkening back to the tight level design that I was talking about, but it's set up in a much more haphazard and seemingly random way that doesn't really make any sense in the context of this world. And despite my gripes about the way the traversal is going to be done, it's also a big part of the reason why I think this game isn't going to be horrible, because even if it's not what I wanted, again, it looks like it's going to be fun. I think that going through a giant open world at breakneck speeds is just inherently going to be fun. Is it the best? No, but again, I don't think it's horrible. In any case, I don't think that this game's strong emphasis on isolation really is, a super Sonic thing, you know what I mean? I don't feel like that's something that screams Sonic to me, and at the end of the day, I'm kind of afraid that certain aspects are going to be exaggerated that aren't Sonic-like and are more so just conventions of this genre. And then something really hit me. When the first few Sonic games came out, Sonic was seen as the epitome of 90s cool. And then in the mid-2000s, Sonic really played up the type of edge that was synonymous with that era. And now, in 2022, we see Sonic taking on the open world game, one of the most popular types of games that exists nowadays. So what I'm trying to say is that Sega has always done what they consider to be cool with Sonic. But this time around, they're not necessarily changing anything about Sonic's personality or the way he's presented. They're changing the type of game he's in. Maybe that's too meta, maybe I'm looking too into it, but that's the way I feel. That's what I think this is. I guess that makes this hard to assess, right? If the thesis of this video is about Sega trying to do what's conducive to Sonic and what makes Sonic what it is, but those things are kind of fickle and ultimately change a lot, then how can we really assess whether or not this game is a good Sonic game? Well, it's a little bit hard to say, but what I can say with a great degree of certainty is at the very least, from a personal point of view, the lifeless, isolated, perspective for Sonic is not one that I'm a huge fan of. And I'm worried about this game, but I'm gonna keep my mouth shut after this. I'm gonna be quiet until the game releases. Sonic Team has a habit of not finishing their games and releasing them anyway. I hope that this isn't what happens with Frontiers, but let's be real, it's more likely than not at this point. Not trying to be pessimistic, but oh my god. Peace. Make it count, play it safe, don't